Chapter 9 Into the Sunrise. Author of love, when thou callest thy jewels, when the bright crowns of rejoicing are won, may we be numbered among thy disciples, who are remembered for what love has done. Kadima leaned hard on the heavy brass screw that held the port window shut. It slowly swung back, and she pulled the round window open. The fresh breath of the late darkness swept her face as she leaned out the window, resting both arms on the cool copper of the window's wide flange. The eastern horizon was brushed with the faintest pink of dawn. She looked down at the water, the splash of innumerable small wavelets against the dark iron hull of the ship created an illusion of tremendous speed. The stars still lingered in the morning sky, but close at hand the mountainous island of Gaia loomed dark and mysterious. "We're almost there," Kadima mused to herself. She counted on her fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has been 6 days since Uncle put me on the boat. Now I'm almost home. Now I will see Tuon and his children. I will show them all the beautiful things the people at the hospital gave me. I will see Sendoi. How her eyes will shine when I tell her about all the people and all the strange things in Singapore. The mist closed in and shut out the rosy promise of dawn. The land and the stars disappeared, but Kadima knew that just around Gaia Island lay Jesselont Wharf. It would only be a few minutes now until the Desamons would drop her anchor off the jetty. Kadima still hung in the open porthole, straining her eye to catch a glimpse of something that would confirm and assure her that the long journey was nearly done. Tomorrow I will go home to the village. She clasped both hands and leaned her chin on them. It will take a big boy gun to carry all my things. How Mukit's eyes will pop when he sees my Ellen baby. She drew her head in and lifted the doll from her place under the red blanket. I will always love you, my little Ellen, but I will love my other baby too. I will love you both the same. It is love that makes people the same. Kadima pondered over this great new thought for a long time. Was it not love that made all the children of equal importance at the Tuan's house? Was it not love for all manner of people, both good and bad, that made everyone the same in God's sight? So love for her two dollies would make them of equal value to their owner. One was beautiful and one was ugly, but her love for them would be the same. I will call my other dolly Intan, because that means treasure. And then Mokitz will know that having a beautiful dolly from the great city has not made me forget my first baby. The great ship was moving slower and slower. Then it stopped altogether. The throb of the engine ceased, and the rattle of the anchor chain signified that all was at rest, and the good ship awaited the break of day, which was drawing on with weavings of light through the purple mist. Kadima snuggled under her blankets and lay quiet for a few minutes. She was wide awake. Who could sleep on such an important morning as this one? Presently she heard the noise of the winches as the ship drew alongside the wharf and made fast its cables. Then she scrambled out of her berth. She opened her traveling case and drew out her rosebud pajamas. Surely no other attire could be so suitable for this great occasion. All her possessions were carefully packed in the case and in the large parcel which stood inside the cabin door. Uncle had wrapped it and roped it, and Kadima had not touched it since leaving Singapore. Now she began tugging at it with all her strength. Just how she was to get her traveling case and the great parcel out onto the deck was not at all clear to her. She opened her door slowly and quietly and looked out. Well, it's you. You! He stroked his chin and seemed to be in deep thought. Ah, yes. Now I remember where I saw you. Thought that face looked familiar. What have they done to that awful-looking eye of yours? Kadima backed into the cabin. Is that great bundle in there yours? Yes, Kadima, he asked. Kadima nodded. How are you going to take it off the ship? Here, Cooley. He motioned to a Chinese coming down the narrow hall. Take that parcel out for the little missy. Be quick, too. I think someone is waiting for her on the wharf. He picked up Kandima's traveling case and, taking her by the hand, ascended to the saloon deck, from whence a ladder ran down to the wharf. Kadima caught a quick look out over the ship's rail, and her heart gave a great leap of joy. There on the wharf was Tuan with Nancy and Madge. The sailor caught her in his strong arms and raced down the ladder like a monkey. Here, my friend, the sailor man addressed Tuan. This young lady gave me one of the biggest frights of my life on our trip about 4 months ago. I see she is all well and beautiful again, and it gives me great pleasure to turn her and her bag and baggage. She has given me 3 beautiful smiles, and I will accept them in payment for the awful scare she gave me. Tuan laughed and looked down at her with deep satisfaction in his gray eyes. So they have made you beautiful. He held her off at arm's length and looked her over. They have certainly fed you well. You are as fresh and as plump as the day rose in our garden. The eye is perfect, and the smile is the same. None sweeter in the Borneo mountains. Madge and Nancy were dancing with joy and surprise. They had recognized the rosebud pajamas, and this made Nancy bubble over with happiness. They drew Candimo with them. But no! She stopped short. My parcel must come too. Tuan's eyes opened in surprise, and both Madge and Nancy cried out with astonishment. Does this really belong to you? Tuan asked. Yes, of course. Candima ran to the big bundle and laid hold of it, as though she would carry it home single-handedly. These are the gifts the kind people at the hospital gave me. A wave from the sailor on the deck reassured Tuan, and he directed the coolie to carry the little bundle to the red bus waiting at the end of the pier. They all followed and were soon happily on their way up the hill to the house of children. June and Beanie, Peter and Jimmy, Sendoa, Sendoy, and Sebenyo. They all ran out to welcome the dear wanderer back again. Kadima felt the cozy warmth of the great house, and its huge family enveloped her like a soft garment. Oh, what a nice new eye! Sendoy clasped her hands as she always did at prayer. Uncle, Kadima is pretty now, said June as she tugged at one of Tuan's big hands. Daddy, Daddy, why does the little girl wear her pajamas in the daytime? Beanie looked puzzled. She likes them the best of all her clothes. Nancy preened herself with great satisfaction. So Candima came back to the house of children. The rejoicing was so general that Tuan declared they must have a feast to celebrate the homecoming in the restoration of their little Condima. Auntie, Sindoy, and Madge had already made ready a delicious repast of red rice, curry, fried bananas, and several kinds of vegetables. Beanie and Nancy requested that the feast be eaten out of doors, so it turned out to be a joyous picnic under the trees. After the meal was over and the dishes were washed, Kadima announced, "Now I am going to show you all the things I got in Singapore." Tuan set the heavy parcel in the middle of the veranda and cut the heavy cords. Kadima removed the wrappings with some help from a number of small, eager hands. Two large cartons were revealed. Each one contained a number of bundles and boxes. There were picture books, big and little, thick and thin, also games of many kinds, a beautiful set of dishes, a whole fleet of small buses and motor cars, trucks and trams. Kadima laughed at these, remembering her terrible fright at first sight of the red bus. Several boxes were sealed and contained delicious biscuits. "I learned to eat those in the hospital," she said. "Mukit and Alja and Chaya never saw any. I guess they will be surprised." "Yes, I think they will." Tuan looked a little bewildered by all this sudden wealth that had come to his little Kandima. A family of teddy bears next appeared from the depths of the carton, together with a white horse, an elephant, a duck on wheels, and a whole menagerie of small glasses and china animals packed in cotton. Kandima could name every one of them. "Now I will show you my baby." Kandima opened her travel case and drew out the dolly. "Her name is Ellen." She looked at Tuan. "She is good and beautiful, and I love her and take good care of her." She cuddled the doll in her arms, while all the children drew near and touched Ellen's dark curls and rosy cheeks. "You may play with all my things." Kadima still held the dolly in her arms, but she nodded generously toward the whole assortment of toys on the floor. "No, no!" Tuan spoke with sudden decision as he started packing all the toys back in their boxes. "No, I think these should all be put back at once. There will be plenty of little folks in Durian Village to play with all these things, and I hope, Kantima, that you will be generous with them too." After the toys were all packed again, the Tuan had gone back to his office, to his papers and books. Beanie and Jimmy invited all the girls to come out and see their pet monkey ride the dog for a horse. Pixie was a tiny black monkey, and Captain the dog was a large black and white mongrel who loved children and monkeys too. The tiny monkey sat on the big dog's back, holding tight to his long hair, and the dog raced back and forth on the long cement walk, with the monkey screaming and hissing like a professional rider. The children laughed until they could laugh no more. "Look!" cried Beanie, pointing down where the walk ended at a curve of the hill. "Look, there comes Teacher Dodd." Sure enough, there was the native teacher from the mountain village striding up the hill. His face relaxed into broad smiles as he drew near the group of waiting children. He had recognized Kandima. It was not easy, for her appearance had changed greatly, but her merry laugh was the same, and besides, he was expecting her to be there. "Kandima, child, how well you look!" the young teacher exclaimed, as he took the child by the hand and looked down at her with happiness shining out of his kind face. "Your eye is as good as ever, and you are so rosy and fat your mother won't know you." Kadima and the other children followed Duad into Tuan's office. The missionary looked up from his papers in surprise and laid everything aside to talk with this visitor from Durian village. I'm glad to see Kendima here, began the young man. Her mother is very anxious about her. She has been away over 4 moons already, and the heathen people in the village are saying that she will never come back any more. He looked at Kendima with a satisfied smile and added, I'm sure that when they see her, they will forget all the long time of waiting for joy that she is well again. Then the two men fell to talking of the people in the village. All the news was of great interest to Kadima, who leaned on Tuon's knee and listened eagerly. Old Kokit was needing more of the rubbing medicine. The heavy rains had made his bones ache more than usual. Gulan and his wife were listening to the teaching every day now, but they still kept the largest herd of pigs in the village, and it seemed hard for them to give up the dirty animals. Is my mother well? Kadima asked as she looked up into Duad's face. Of course, my child. I should have told you at once your mother is well, and there is a new baby brother waiting for you when you get back to the village tomorrow. You will like that. Chaya is a good girl. She can cook and pound rice and work in the fields just like a grown woman. Bonnie is a big fellow. He talks a lot and runs all over the village. Kindima, will you go home with Teacher Dewad tomorrow? Beanie inquired with grave interest. Kadima must go home as quickly as possible. Tuan lifted the child to his knee. We have kept her too long already, but someday she will come back, and perhaps we will have a nice school where lots of boys and girls can come and learn many useful things.